Well, so the hardest choices in life aren't between what's right or wrong, but between what's right and what's best. Now, imagine there are two doors. One leads to something new, uncertain, but potentially life-changing, and the other leads to something that you're familiar with, something that you've already seen. Now, logically, if the new door promises a better life, you should walk to it, and you would be choosing the right decision. But somehow, you hesitate and your mind starts making excuses, doubts creep in, and before you know it, you choose the door that you're comfortable with, the door that has something familiar on the other side. Now, I know this may sound familiar to anyone that has gone through very difficult decisions, and it's actually how we are programmed, because that's the brain at work. The brain can let you down when you're trying to make quite the simplest decision, but it makes it look like a very impossible task. And why is that? Well, in this episode, I'm going to try to dive into that idea of why it is very hard to make the simplest decisions in life. This is Kiboozi. So this episode is best of what I'm actually going through at the moment. I'm in the middle of making quite a big decision in my life, and I have 3 offers on me, and I have to see that I don't piss off other guys. There is one I actually want deep down in me, but I'll give a follow-up episode based on the decision that I will have made and the whole experience of that whole decision making. Anyway, back to the episode. Now, our brains are wired for efficiency. Our brains don't like uncertainty, and they don't want something that they don't know, because your mind spent years building neural pathways, or they can call them mental shortcuts, that would help you react if something happened. So, like how you would make a decision. When you face a decision, your brain refers to take on what is easy for it, or what makes it feel safe, or what is predictable, and what is best for you according to it, according to the neural pathways it has been making throughout your life. Like, let me say, if it is you see fire as a baby, at that point when you saw fire, the decision was to touch it. But when you touched it, you felt it was hot and burnt you. So the neural pathway was made that fire is dangerous, or fire is hot. So when you're in a decision that requires you to touch the fire, the quickest thing out of it would be not to use your bare hands, because the neural pathway is already there that you are supposed to, the fire will cause damage to you. Why? Your brain's main job is survival, not success. It favors routines because routines do not require a lot of energy. It's you doing the same thing. So the brain is used to doing that same thing, and it won't do something new. Doing something new is changing the routine. Now, new decisions trigger threat in your brain, and so the response is that this is a threat, and it becomes overwhelming for the brain. This is why some people stay in a job for a long time, even when they hate it. Some people stay in relationships when they don't like them, or when the relationships drain them. It's not always because they don't want a way better, but because their brain whispers to them that at least we know what to expect. At least we know if my boss comes and they're shouting at me or what, it's something I expect. The brain hates mistakes. So that fear of what happens if I choose wrong? What will happen? That fear, your brain fears to reach that point. So that's why you keep yourself around there, living in that. You don't want to do the uncertain thing. Psychologists call it anticipated regret. Sometimes we delay decisions because we fear the future disappointment. That if something never worked out, how would I live with it? Even when you've not tried. That's why some businesses end in that stage of paralysis. Analysis paralysis. Every time you come up with a new idea, your mind will always find the excuses of you not doing it. Why? Because it's something that is uncertain, something that is new. Your brain wants you to survive. It doesn't want you to succeed. It wants you to survive. Just survive. Now, the next part of this episode is going to be a little bit contradicting to even me, but I have to say it because we are all a work in progress. We are all trying to learn and be better. And that is, how do we break the cycle? You see, the first thing about making decisions and making the right decision, not what's best for you at the moment, is making the decision faster. If you know what's right for you but feel there is some resistance, just count 1 up to 5 and make the decision. Because the longer you wait, the louder your brain excuses get. Like whatever excuse was there starts to come in, because you're taking long to make the decision. Instead of fearing regret, think of, what if I regret not trying? You see, the regret we have is what will happen if I don't take that decision on. The regret should be what would happen if you didn't try to take on that decision. That's where this whole thing will go away. That's how you make the decisions quickly. You know, I would rather try than not try. Because every wrong decision brings experience, and in experience is how we grow. Every wrong decision brings in experience, and it's in that experience that we will learn. We'll learn that if I do this, this happens. If I do this, this happens. You'll start to build new neural patterns in your brain. Your brain will now start to evolve, not be only in one position. Now, the other thing you can also do is break down the big decision into smaller decisions. Let me say you want to quit your job. The other small decisions are which date, because you have to decide on which date. What are you going to do after leaving the job? How are you going to do it? What are the first steps you're going to do? So with those small decisions that you have to make, at the end of the day, you end up making the big decision. Now, I have a colleague, a good friend. His first thing when he wanted to leave work was to set the date when he will have to leave. And it's from that date that the other decisions were made. That if I'm to say I'm leaving on the 28th of February, now I've overtasked him. And then if I'm to leave on the 28th of February, 28th is the last date of Feb, So first March, this is what I'll do. First week of March, second week of March, third week of March. Those are other small decisions of the big decision. So break it into the decisions towards the big decisions and also the decisions after the big decision, so that it's easy for you to make the decision always. Then the other thing I've learned personally is stop asking for very many opinions. You see, the more you ask for opinions, the more you get confused, because all of us look at the world in different angle, and all of us have perspectives. We have ways of understanding different things. So the more you ask people, the more you get confused, the more you don't get direction. So ask for a few opinions, most especially from people you trust and people you know wish you the best, because we are in a cruel world and some people may not wish you the best, but people who wish you the best will always give you hints on what would be the right decision to make. So think about it in that way, that to make the decisions faster, count 1 up to 5, see if the decision is good for you, make it. Don't leave gap for the excuses to become loud in your brain. Instead of fearing regret, at least fear not trying. Then every wrong decision brings an experience for you, and it's something you should always keep in your mind. Every wrong decision I make in life, it shouldn't be your brain, because remember, your brain is looking at the new decisions as a trigger, as a threat. So wire in your brain that every decision is an experience, whether it goes good or goes bad. I'm also speaking to myself because I'm in that situation, but I'll just give it its results in the next episode. But for now, I'm also advising myself indirectly. Anyway, at the end of the day, that's the whole essence of this podcast. Build me and also build my listener. As I conclude this wonderful episode, I want to say that most of us do not struggle with knowing what to do. However, we struggle with trusting ourselves to do it. So the next time you're stuck between choosing what's familiar and what's right for your growth, ask yourself, is my brain choosing comfort or is it choosing progress? And then obviously make the decision. Take the step forward to make the decision. Yeah, that's it for Beizzo's Kiboozi. If you've liked this episode, please share it with your friends, family, and all the rest. Thank you very much for listening. Until next Monday, keep it at Beizzo's Kiboozi.